Her 9000's game room.
The Legend of the Mystical Ninja, known in Japan as Ganbei Goemon, was the 59th SNES game I reviewed during my series of 150 Super Nintendo game reviews. This series is now gone beyond the limit of 150, and for my 165th review, here I am reviewing Goemon 2. Goemon was an action-adventure game for 1 to 2 players made by Konami and released for the Super NES in 1991. And it was a game I not only gave a 9 out of 10, but I also strongly recommended it. Well, in Europe, this was Goemon's only outing on the SNES, yet over in Japan there were plenty more Goemon games, which brings me to this review. Goemon 2, or to give it its full title, Ganbei Goemon 2 Kiterutsu Shogun Maganisu. I'm probably butchering that pronunciation, but there we go. Back in the day, I never even realised that this game existed. Heck, if I'd known that it did, I would have purchased it. But back in the SNES days, if it wasn't in your local import shop, then it kind of just didn't exist. Even when you saw import titles, it was hard going when deciding if to buy a particular one or not, as you never quite knew how much trouble you were going to get into trying to play them. Would it run on your hardware with your particular import adapter? And if it did, would it even be playable, or would the language barrier be far too deep for the game to be enjoyable? In order to review this game, I played it in a number of different ways. I imported a cartridge-only copy of the game and got by with it quite nicely. The language barrier will stop you fully knowing what's going on, but it won't stop you enjoying the game. I did, however, also download a translated ROM. I can't begin to understate how amazing the whole translated ROM thing is nowadays. Never in a million years as a kid would I have ever thought that I'd be downloading SNES games in code form and then applying patches to them that were made by talented fans which would either put a foreign game into my language or add to a game in some way. This all seems like some kind of magic to me, and yet this is coming from someone who started gaming in the microcomputer days, someone who has seen games written down as code and seen that this code could be manipulated. The building blocks were there, and yet I still find myself astounded by how far we've come and what people can do. Okay, so the story of the game is roughly that a foreigner by the name of Maganisu Shogun has invaded Japan and is wreaking absolute mayhem upon it, and it's up to Goemon, aka Kid Ying to give him his mystical ninja name, and Ibusumaru, aka Dr. Yang, to defeat the bad guys and go on to rescue their friend Omitsu. A third character has been added to this sequel, and he's a mechanical ninja named Sasuke. Who you choose to play as will depend on your playstyle, as well as most likely who you think looks the coolest. Goemon is sort of the middle average character. He uses his signature pipe and can toss coins. His movement speed is average, but then you have the slower but powerful Ibusumaru, leaving Sasuke as the quickest character. He slices up the enemies very quickly with his daggers, and as he was new and pretty cool, when I first played this, I found myself drawn towards him. But the cool thing is that the characters all feel different enough that you'll want to try all 3 of them. For the purpose of recording footage for this review, I've played as Goemon. Unlike in the first game, you have an overworld map with the game consisting of 6 regions in Japan, and in each region you have several stages. Also, unlike in the first game, in Goemon 2 there are no enemies in the town for you to have to fight. Sure, you still have your weapon while you're in town, but as long as you don't mess with the townsfolk, then they won't mess with you. If you do hit one of the townspeople, then everyone in town will get annoyed and they will all attack you. In the towns you can also find a whole bunch of different shops which will allow you to replenish your health and armour. You'll be able to save your progress by staying at the inns. And when it comes to the action stages, they're similar to those in the first game, but there's some neat little additions such as a number of different vehicles to ride, including an orange fish that hops around on land or travels quickly on the water, a jeep, and even mechanical sumo suits. This kind of reminds me of other games such as Metal Slug, and it helps to break up the stages. The game is full of the same sort of great Japanese style graphics and music as the first one, along with the same sort of signature craziness, but it dials it up to 11. When you reach the point towards the end of a stage when you're given Goemon Impact, your very own Goemon inspired mecha, with which to smash through cities, destroying both enemies and buildings in order to collect both energy and money. Once you've done this, you progress into a Mode 7 first person combat mode. You fight in your mech. In your mech you'll do battle with another giant robot, and these are your boss battles. This part is new to the game, not having featured in the previous title, but from this point on, this mech combat kind of becomes a staple part of the Goemon series. During this part, you'll fight your opponent in what I could best describe as a sort of punch-out kind of way. You can punch, toss coins, block, and throw a bomb. And you need to defeat your opponent before it manages to defeat you. This is one of the best things about Goemon 2. As a game, it keeps things fresh, breaking up the action into different little chunks, keeping everything just feeling fresh and interesting. So how would I rate this game? Well, I guess that depends on if you're playing an original Japanese cartridge as a non-Japanese speaking individual like me, or if you have managed to get your hands on a translated copy. If you're playing the original, then I would give it a good old 8 out of 10, as it's a darn good game, but you're going to miss out on some of it due to the language barrier. Sure, not enough of it to ruin the game, but enough not to be getting quite as good an experience. If you're playing it translated into English though, fully able to understand and appreciate all of the wacky fun on offer here, then I need to give this game a 9. Heck, I seriously considered giving it a 9.5 out of 10. Okay, that's Kerr9000 signing off, saying keep on gaming.